Every day, companies buy gigabytes of proxy traffic, yet almost no one knows how much of it actually works. We're used to counting megabits, IP pools, and bandwidth, but volume doesn't equal results. You're on the Proxy-Seller channel, I'm Mark, and today we're breaking down why most enterprise teams measure the wrong things when evaluating their ROI. According to Google Cloud, by 2026, the world will generate more than 7 petabytes of data every second, and only 10% of that will be original. The rest is duplicates, background noise, and technical traffic that carries no value. In other words, 90% of what's collected is essentially useless. And proxy infrastructure works the same way. Most requests don't return a valid response. We measure gigabytes instead of validity. We buy more traffic instead of more accuracy. And then we're surprised when ROI drops, even as the volume of data increases. In this video, we'll show why the next core metric for data teams isn't bandwidth, it's the valid response rate, and how this shift is reshaping enterprise data economics in 2025. For most companies, proxy economics are still built around volume. We measure how many gigabytes were transferred, how many IPs were used, and what the average speed was. It creates an illusion of control. The bigger the scale, the better the result, or so it seems. But scale does not guarantee efficiency. IDC's 2025 report shows that the main reason most Gen AI projects never reach production is that costs spiral, while ROI fails to materialize. Another 37% of companies explicitly pointed to insufficient performance or unstable infrastructure as a barrier. Businesses keep buying bandwidth, but don't get proportional value back. Imagine your pipeline processes 10 million requests. If even a quarter of them return errors, HTML instead of JSON, or simply fail with a timeout, you're spending the same resources but ending up with roughly 25% fewer valid results. Your ROI drops accordingly. Volume grows, value doesn't. Google Cloud calls this the data value gap, the disconnect between how much data we generate and how much of it actually drives business outcomes. In the proxy world, we can call this the bandwidth gap, when we measure gigabytes but don't measure validity. Cloudera highlights this perfectly. Trusted data is the foundation for trusted AI. And if enterprise teams consider data an asset, then proxies must become part of the same trust infrastructure. That's why the real metric of efficiency isn't traffic volume. It's the number of valid usable responses, what we call the valid response rate, the new KPI for data teams. What truly matters for enterprise teams isn't how many requests you send. It's how many valid responses actually reach your pipelines, models, and decision systems. That's the valid response rate, or VRR. VRR is the percentage of requests that return correct, complete, and legally sourced data. Put simply, it's your data uptime. Just like DevOps teams measure service uptime, data teams must measure the validity of each response. Frontiers in Big Data notes that data quality must be measured continuously and contextually, not as a static score. So what does valid response rate actually mean? In data quality terms, it's a combination of 4 dimensions. Accuracy, the data matches reality. Completeness, the response contains everything required. Timeliness, the request is fulfilled on time. And integrity, the source is transparent and legal. When we measure VRR, a second metric emerges, cost per valid response, or CPVR. That's the cost of a single valid response. It shows how efficiently your infrastructure is operating. As analysts note, unexpected infrastructure costs can skew ROI. CPVR makes those hidden inefficiencies visible and restores control. Together, VRR and CPVR form the foundation of a new proxy infrastructure economy. They shift the business mindset from measuring gigabytes to measuring value. VRR is your data uptime, CPVR is your ROI. This is the language modern enterprise infrastructure speaks. We wanted to see how the shift from traffic to validity works in real-world conditions. So we launched a pilot with a major e-commerce company that collects millions of prices and product listings every day across Europe and North America. Their team faced a typical market problem. Some requests were being blocked. Others returned incomplete or incorrect data. As a result, only about 20% of all requests produced useful information. The remaining 80% were pure cost with zero ROI. We plugged in Proxy-Seller infrastructure, and in the very first week, their valid response rate jumped from 20% to 92%. Blocks dropped by 80%, and analytic speed increased by 35%. After 2 weeks, the client was processing 5 times more valid data without increasing their budget. And most importantly, their thinking changed. They stopped counting how much traffic they transferred and started counting how many valid, usable responses actually made it to their reports. That's the real ROI of infrastructure. Our pilot demonstrated that when infrastructure measures validity rather than volume, ROI becomes predictable. Instead of saying we transferred 2 terabytes, they now say we received 92% valid responses from transparent sources. And this isn't just a jump in VRR, it's a paradigm shift. Valid response rate is the new data uptime. Cost per valid response is the new ROI. And this case proved that enterprise infrastructure can be measurable, stable, and controllable, even at the request level. A few years ago, scale was measured by IP pools, terabytes, or response speed. Today, that's no longer enough. Scale is transparency. Scale is trust. Observability is not a feature, it's an architectural principle. In modern enterprise systems, observability defines how far a team can grow without losing control. Because if you can't see what's happening inside your infrastructure, you're not scaling, you're multiplying risks. And this is where compliance comes in. The ODI white paper states AI can only deliver value if built on well-governed data. Transparency and accountability are not optional, they define reliability. ARDC puts it even more directly. Responsible data collection safeguards open access while maintaining compliance with law. Responsible data collection isn't a limitation, it's the foundation of innovation. That's exactly how we build infrastructure. Open to automation, but governed by clear policies. And when compliance and observability work together, scale becomes not a risk, but an advantage. You can increase your workload tenfold and still know exactly where your data came from, when it arrived, and whether it's valid. That's why today, scale isn't the number of gigabytes. Scale is the ability to remain transparent under any load. Compliance is the new scale. Observability is the new uptime. And together they create what we call infrastructure trust. In this video, we walked the path from gigabytes to valid responses, from chaotic traffic to measurable controlled infrastructure. And now it's clear, validity has become the new currency of data. For enterprise teams, this isn't just a technical metric. Valid response rate is a signal of stability, trust, and the real value your data provides. IDC analysts already call real-time data quality measurement a core prerequisite for ROI in AI systems. And we see it in practice. When data is valid, models are accurate, pipelines are stable, and investments become predictable. Valid responses are the new enterprise currency. They determine how reliable your data is, how mature your infrastructure has become, and how prepared your business is to scale. Proxy-Seller is building this new language for infrastructure, a language of trust, observability, and responsibility. Because the future of data isn't about having more traffic, it's about having more validity. We are an infrastructure provider for companies working with big data, AI models, and automation at a global scale. Our team helps enterprise clients build production-ready proxy layers, secure, ethical, and scalable data collection systems for analytics, advertising, and model training. And if you're ready to scale your solutions, choose the enterprise plan at Proxy-Seller.com, and our specialists will reach out to recommend the optimal architecture for your business. Subscribe to the Proxy-Seller channel. Here we share practical case studies, market analytics, and insights that help teams build AI infrastructure faster and more confidently. See you in the next video.